Hey everybody, so I want to try this again real quick.
And tonight, the Omni.
All right, so let's get right into it. Got
Don't
some
miss it. Be
questions.
there. Where's Freddie Miller when we need him?
All right, first question comes from Teddy Ranella. Says, I feel like I've been a member of the Gary Hart fan club since 1981 or so.
Charter member, eh?
You should make T-shirts. Not kidding. That's actually, I think, how the idea for the name Gary Hart
That's
fan club
exactly how we got it.
came up.
My
My wife.
sister-in-law was going through the archives and saw a young gentleman out there with a T-shirt that said Gary Hart Fan Club, and it was yellow shirt with black cap, bold cap print letters. Said Gary Hart Fan Club. We said, there we go.
Yeah.
Some things name themselves, you know.
All right, so
So
says
thank you to whoever came up with that shirt. And though it was Steeler colors, and I'm a Cowboy fan, so
said loved his book and y'all stories. A few questions.
thank you.
When and where were both of y'all born? We're
Dallas,
both born in Dallas.
77.
79, and Dad was working for Fritz at the time, so that's why we were born in Texas, and I guess around Dallas because the office was in Dallas, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. What is your earliest memory of pro wrestling?
Mine.
You can maybe it might be fuzzy, so if you might got a couple.
The opening sequence of the old Channel 11 show, where they would use 2001: Space Odyssey. It was a disco remix, and it was also used as part of the Showcase Showdown on The Price is Right, like the early mid 70s. I still think Ricky Flair should be the new host of The Price is Right. I think he could be fantastic. And that's in a spot with Kevin Von Erich doing a body press on my Uncle Mark Lewin. And as far as like the actual matches, Dad and Uncle Mark against Brody in a cage. And there was this one green book.
Uncle Mark is Mark Lewin.
Yeah, there was this one green book, and there was pictures of all the wrestlers in it. And I just remember this picture of Al Madrill. And
Okay.
that's my first memories of wrestling. And the Spectatorium with going to the ring with David Von Erich. That's really that's about what I first remember. That's how come like
going to the ring like you were managing him that
yes,
night?
I actually no, I was I was the guest enforcer referee that night.
Yeah.
See, that's why it's kind of hard for me. I have a real problem with the WWF and the WWE because my memories go so far back to when they try to twist their stories about history. When I remember back so long, it's like, you kind of can't play with me. But thanks for the question.
So my first memory, one of my first memories is I remember I was at the Sportatorium and the Magic Dragon, his girlfriend, Lori, had me on her hip.
Mm-hmm.
And we were standing right there, right by the heel dressing room door where the baby faces would go out. Sorry. So by the dressing room door where the baby faces would go out, this was like, and her talking to Dad, and there was at the Sportatorium, and I don't know if it was the same night, but man, just going like the concessions of the Sportatorium,
Oh, yeah.
and man, that place was packed,
Yeah.
dude. Just people crawling on top of each other,
Yeah.
and just smoky and just loud.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that, and I remember I was sitting on one other memory. I was sitting on Dad's lap, and we were sitting there talking to Tim Brooks, and yeah, so it was in the dressing room.
We've edited a little bit of it for.
Yeah, and I mean that was just the first couple. And I remember Texas Stadium 1984 when Kerry wrestled Flair. We were at the very back of the end zone where the wrestlers were coming out. Is that right? And then I remember I couldn't see the ring the whole day because I guess I was only like 2 foot tall,
and people were passing out because it was so hot.
I remember,
it was like 105 out there. It was hot out there that day.
Yeah,
it was like really hot. I mean, this was like in the beginning of May. I mean, we came from Charlotte for that, and in North Carolina it was too cold to go swim. But as soon as we got to the hotel here, it was like right everybody in the pool.
Yeah, I couldn't see the matches. I remember seeing Bronco Lubitsch coming out, but anyways, yeah,
and everybody was standing on their chairs. I
don't think the whole time, obviously, because if you look at the matches, if you look at like the footage of it now, not everybody's standing on their chairs, but I do remember a lot of people were standing on their chairs, and I was like, dang it, sit down so I can see the ring.
Because when I was watching Kerry and Ricky, I was in the tunnel. I was sitting up on top of Dad's shoulders. I said, I can only see the tops of Ricky and Kerry's head.
Okay.
And then there was another time at the This is in the Carolinas. Crowds in the Carolinas were rough crowds. They were really passionate fans, but it wasn't
This is a good question.
it wasn't as shrieky as like say the Von Erichs, because the audience here was like 60% women. But Dad and Kabuki, it was Charlie Brown, Jimmy Valiant. Who I can't say it was Jimmy Valiant under the mask. I still think it probably
Who
was,
we have another question about that, so you
and
might want to hold off
I think it probably was. But we no, I'll save this and see. I'll segue back into this. I'm in the radio
Okay.
because I can segue things.
Okay.
And on all those huge crowds that we had in Texas, thank you, Michael Hayes.
So it says, could you tell us a bit more about your mom? So it says moms. We have the same mom.
Yes.
Mom kind of yeah, I think she
She knew a lot of the wrestlers, knew a lot of the guys, liked them as people, but as far as the in and outs of the wrestling business, she really didn't care. I mean, guys could come over to the house and she would hug them and say, "Hi, darling, how are you? I'm going outside, or I'm going to go watch TV." She just never really cared.
Well, not
about the
all of
wrestling
them. Like
business.
she was very close with some of them because we got another question
Oh, yeah.
about that. Like she was very close with
The Spoiler,
yeah.
Dick Slater,
Yeah.
Dusty Rhodes, Dick Murdoch,
But if there's
Jackie
someone,
Jerry Briscoe, Bob Orton.
but if there's someone she didn't like, she would.
Oh yeah, no, she would just go, "Nah."
Yeah.
And she's very close with the One Man Gang's wife and Bruiser Brody. She was very good friends with Doris Von Erich, and Fritz's father, Pappy, used to always send her Twinkies on Valentine's Day, and he'd always call her and say, "Do you know who this is?"
So this is interesting. It said, could you tell us a bit more about your mom? And then curious about the Playboy's home life. I don't think the book talks about his love life at all. Okay. So his home life. So yeah, Dad. He man, how do you? That's weird.
When he was there,
yeah. Yeah.
normally he would. My father liked to smoke a certain substance that everyone knows about. He talked about that heavily in the book. He would come home, he would smoke, he'd put a Walkman on his head, and he would sit there with his booking sheet, and he would just line out stuff, not line out like move for move like they do now, and would just like write out a collection of matches and would do maybe 3 or 4 weeks in a row and then put it down and then come back the next morning and say,
Right.
"Okay, this looks okay."
I think he's getting more. I mean, I think you're making. I mean, like.
But I mean, that was
He did that a lot.
did.
But I think we got to come back to this question like in a few weeks. I want to think about it.
Okay.
That's a good one because, like, Dad always, as busy as he was, I remember most years, like he would be off the road for my birthday.
Yeah.
So that's a great question. I want to come back to that. I got to think about it. How to put it in words.
We will put a pause on this one.
Yeah.
And once again, thank you to Michael Hayes.
Dude, what is your deal? Was he happily married, or did he have a lot of different love interests? No, Dad was happily married. They fought like every other married couple, but yes, happily married.
But as far as like the Playboy stuff, that went from my father came from it was an odd environment for a kid back then. But from the time, as to quote Ric Flair, from the time my father was 15 to about 24, whenever he met my mother, he ran wild with any woman that would have him. That's why he called himself the Playboy. But by the time he had met my mother, he had already been in the wrestling business. Because he met Mom in 67. He got in the business at 60. In 60, he had been in the business for 7 years and had already been married one time before he got married to my mother. Had that marriage annulled. So Dad said, by the time I met your mother, I was looking to settle down. I was already tired of women. So no, he was Nancy Benoit one time said to my mother, she goes, "You're the envy of all the wives." And Mom went, "Well, why?" She goes, "Because he's one of the few that doesn't mess around." And Mom goes, "Well, he's always busy looking for something to smoke with your husband." After the matches. So
okay, so Red Berry. Here we go. Next
Wild
question.
Red Berry?
I don't know. Red Berry. What did your dad think of handsome Jimmy Valiant, the Boogie Woogie Man?
One of his, if next to the, I mean, this is going to be kind of hard for people in Texas to understand, but my dad's two favorite opponents were Jimmy Valiant and Bob Armstrong. Sorry. Those are the two guys that he loved working with. And thank you, Michael Hayes. He loved working with you too.
What is your deal, dude?
No.
Sorry, did that make you mad when I pushed that?
No.
I'm just thinking sometimes the mic.
No. Jimmy Valiant, he said, because when you hear some guys say the night off, they don't really know what they're talking about. Jimmy Valiant was only concerned about how the match looked, and you didn't really have to do much with him because he was already over, and the crowd would just explode at anything he did. One night when we were doing the Charlie Brown gimmick, like I said once before, I'm not sure if Jimmy Valiant was actually Charlie Brown. He just looked a lot like him, a guy with a black mask and a long blonde beard. It could have been him. We were working in a football. I want to say it was in what was Florence, South Carolina, where everyone dressed across the street at the Cadillac Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I want to say it was Jimmy Valiant, Charlie Brown, Rufus R. Freight Train Jones, and I want to say it was Brian Adidas was the third man against. I want to say it was Kabuki, Draggy, Sonoda, Magic Dragon, and one other. I can't remember. I don't think it was the one man gang. It might have been. I don't think it was Ernie Ladd. I don't. It might have been Don Cornoodle. And Jimmy just hits the ring, and the crowd is exploding. And he was wearing goggles to protect himself from the green mist. And the goggles go up in the air. A couple of punches throw. The match don't last long, but it's pure pandemonium the entire time. And I think they ended in a disqualification, but the crowd was just, they loved him. He was so easy to work with. But he was Dad's favorite opponent because I saw Jimmy years later. This is about several years ago. He always said, "Oh, your father was a Chicago boy, one of my favorites of all time." Dad loved working with him because he was easy money. Him and Bob Armstrong, because Bob more so, he didn't care about winning and losing. He only cared about how was the match, and that's the same way Jimmy was. My father loved Jimmy Vine. To say that he liked working with somebody, that he chose someone over Dusty and Brody, to say those two guys were his favorite, that says quite a bit.
Yeah,
he loved both of them.
Another question from Red Berry. So do you remember? I don't have any memory.
And another thing, back to Jimmy Valiant, all the managers in North Carolina were getting their head shaved. Dad was growing his hair back out to get it shaved for Jimmy Valiant, but he ended up leaving the Carolinas, and Kerry Von Erich ended up getting that. So, little known fact.
Okay, so Red Berry, I don't know about this, but he said that as a kid, at the age of 10 or younger, I used to go with my family in the early 80s to the Lynchburg City Armory in Lynchburg, Virginia. See your dad and Kabuki.
Yes.
I wonder if you heard any stories of your dad and wrestlers not wanting to go to this really small armory because of small payoffs, or if you yourselves have any memory of it.
No,
I don't know.
no, guys in the Carolinas, no. Crowds were always raucous, and they were really passionate fans. But because back then, guys now, when you go to conventions like they do in the Carolinas every year, you get to see how much the people appreciated the wrestlers, and you always knew that the wrestlers appreciated the people. It was just a great fan base, and everyone loved. There were certain towns in North Carolina in that area that were very, very dangerous to work, but Lynchburg, no, it was like guys back then used to like working close buildings because you could really get the intimacy with the buildings. Like I know these new guys now, they like going in front of these football stadiums, and the vibe is not the same. It's like Kevin Nash had said, when you go up there, 80,000 seat building, you turn around, you can only see about 12 rows back and you're working. And it's like this, like Vince had said, the sound escapes. So when you're working a small building like the Sportatorium used to be, and like the Civic Center in Lynchburg, Virginia, it's.
Oh, you remember the building from?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
It was a tightly cramped place.
Did you go there, or just
I never went there, but I heard Dad. They loved Lynchburg, Virginia, Richmond, Norfolk. I mean, any building that you worked there, and the payoffs were, if you drew money, Jim Crockett paid you. That's why he had a cash flow problem, because he paid guys really, really well.
That's a good question. But we can come back to that.
Actually, I worked with a guy at my other job. He's from Lynchburg and said, I used to go to the matches all the time. He was talking about Dad. He was talking about Jimmy Valley. He was talking about Magnum, Nikita, Dusty, the Road Warriors, Ricky.
You're like this. Jamie77 says, subscribed.
Thank you.
And he says, son on the left.
Does that mean?
Looks a lot like Gary.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Heavy J 713. I know it's not your call, but are there plans to release your father's book?
No.
Okay. Took care of that. I didn't know. I mean, that's okay.
I mean, I like the fact that there's not a lot of them out there, and it's like a rare artifact. But no. I mean, you would have to, because we self-published it. Dad and Phil self-published it, and self-publishing is very, very difficult because you have to order a set number of books. And you have to you have to order like 1,000 or 2,000. It's not like you can't just okay, how many do we got? It's like somebody who makes specialty items for like one particular item. You have to order like a certain amount of them. But no, I appreciate the question though.
And then
And
he
thanks you for the guys that look like the old man, but I got the hair hanging over the eyebrows because I got those too.
did Dad ever, same Heavy J, did your dad ever reconnect with Muda or Kabuki?
No,
How was our relationship? How was y'all's relationship with him?
non-existent.
Yeah.
Respect one and don't have much time for the other.
Well, what so that's all the questions I got here, I think.
Kabuki, it ended a little bit. I mean, it ended bad with him, but at least things came back around to where what would happen is sometimes during that time period where Ken had him with Sunshine, he would sometimes come over to Dad and ask him questions, and Dad would say, "Don't do anything you don't feel comfortable doing." So Dad did see Kabuki. There was talk about bringing Song into Atlanta
Songs Kabuki for
in
people that don't know.
in '89. I don't know how far that those conversations actually get. I just remember Kevin Sullivan and Dad were mentioning bringing Kabuki in to a team with Muda. But as far as Muda, the last time we saw him was the day we left Atlanta in '90. And to be honest, Dad tried to reconnect with him several times, and he just never. I mean, it was never. It's that whole part is just very, very murky for me. I don't really have much good to say about him at all.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I got. And you doing good. And
Don't miss it. Be there.